allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My name is Chris Kimball. I am proud to be president here at California Lutheran University and absolutely delighted to welcome all of you here for this important and wonderful event. As we reflect back on what's been just a little over 50 years in our history, we see that we've grown up alongside the city of Thousand Oaks and realize that the success that we've had is because of our location. We would not be the university that we are without being in this community. And so we, all of us here at CLU, are very, very grateful for that relationship and grateful that this day can symbolize the connection between town and gown, between university and the community. And now it is my pleasure and honor to introduce you to the current chair of the board of the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Phil Kuntz.
It's my sincere pleasure to introduce to you someone who really needs no introduction, a man who has served on the Thousand Oaks City Council since 1994, the year I got out of college. He was in his 30th year with the LA City Fire Department and who is now completing his 4th term as mayor of Thousand Oaks. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mayor Andrew Fox.
As some of you may know, Cal Lutheran University is my alma mater, and very, very proud to be a graduate of Cal Lutheran. As many of you know, Cal Lutheran is celebrating its 50-year anniversary, and they are truly a jewel in our community. What started as a small college has now grown to one of the nation's final liberal arts university, educating over 4,000 students. It's home to an NBR affiliate radio station, and it's reaching near completion of a multi-million-dollar sports complex that was capped off this year with the opening of the new Bill Rowland football stadium. And as it is close to home, Bill is a retired Los Angeles City firefighter. So Cal Lutheran has done great things. We are very fortunate to have them in our backyard. And I'd like to start today's event with a little video, if you will, to tell you where Cal Lutheran is going and what it's accomplished.
California Lutheran University is a vital community partner in Thousand Oaks, a top 10 employer with students dedicated to community service and alumni who lead the way in practically every field and profession. Hosting hundreds of performances and lectures each year, CLU keeps the arts and critical inquiry alive in the Conejo Valley, while KCLU Public Radio provides comprehensive programming. 2011 extended a decade-long streak of tremendous growth at CLU. In just over a year, the campus has opened 4 major buildings: an eco-friendly Swenson Center, the Frederickson Early Childhood Center, a state-of-the-art broadcast center for KCLU, and this October, CLU dedicated the William Rowland Stadium and Gallery of Fine Art, an $8.9 million complex hosting games and commencement ceremonies. For more than 50 years, CLU has been a community partner with a commitment to service and justice. Ranked 18th among regional universities in the West, today it brings to Thousand Oaks the best qualified and most international student body in its history.
Our other host here this afternoon is, of course, the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce. With its recent 5-star accreditation, our chamber is ranked as in the top 1% as over 7,000 chambers nationally. With a membership of over 1,200 members, making the Conejo Valley Regional Chamber of Commerce one of the largest in the Western United States. It's the only chamber in the nation to effectively manage 3 separate city contracts. The Chamber has been and continues to be a unifying force that connects the Conejo Valley for economic activity and prosperity. One only needs to look at the leaders of both Cal Lutheran and the Chamber to recognize some of the reasons for its success. Yes, here at Cal Lutheran, they have a Board of Regents, and the Chamber has a Board of Directors, all volunteers, all who do a great job. But the leadership starts at the top, and here at Cal Lutheran, we've been very blessed since 2008 to have Dr. Chris Kimball leading Cal Lutheran University. Since 2008, Chris has been executing quietly a vision that has resulted in one of the finest liberal arts universities for its size in the nation. Like all university presidents, Chris is first an academic, but he is so much more. He is virtually involved in many aspects of our community. The Board of Regents chose wisely in his selection as CLU president, and we are very fortunate to have Chris Kimball with us today. Let's give Chris Kimball a round of applause. Jill Leder, before beginning her time at the Chamber of Commerce, was a successful business owner and entrepreneur. She's also donated thousands of dollars to worthy causes in our community. Upon her retirement, selling of her businesses, Jill did not fade off into the sunset to just enjoy retirement. She volunteered and was selected to be the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. And we've already heard what is accomplished in 3 short years with Jill at the helm. Both California Lutheran University and the Chamber of Commerce, our hosts today, are outstanding examples of the type of contribution and the type of service that this city thrives on. Please acknowledge the Chamber of Commerce, Jill Leder, Dr. Chris Kimball, the California Lutheran University, for being our host this morning. Now, local government, and by that I mean the city, the school district, and the park district, we are all in the service business, from the mayor and city council, to the school principal, to the football coach, to the volunteers at the teen center. Our simple yet profound mission is service to others. All of these institutions believe that through collaboration with residents and businesses, we can and we have built a premier city. This past year in particular has been unique in that several projects and initiatives that began some 3, 4, 5, even over a decade ago came to fruition, culminating into completed projects and implemented initiatives. The Thousand Oaks Boulevard Specific Plan, the Cultural Affairs Commission, major renovations to Los Robles Medical Center, the Auto Mall Specific Plan, and the adoption of a new mobile home rent control ordinance are just a few of this year's achievements that have been in the works for many, many years. Now, in public policy, things don't just happen. They require vision, engaging the broader community, finding common ground, and last but not least, taking action. And sometimes that action requires a dose of political courage. This is the formula that has created the state of our city, by which, by any measurable standard, we provide outstanding service to our community. A great example of the Thousand Oaks Boulevard Specific Plan. For several years, residents have asked the council and consistently ranked improvements along the boulevard as their top priority. Council responded by placing the need to create a pedestrian-oriented downtown as a key city policy. Over the years, a number of business leaders have carried the torch for a reimagined TO Boulevard. Cal Johnston was one of those early leaders driving the cause. Cal passed then the baton to Rick Principe and Rick Lemo, as well as others, and those put together a plan made by and paid for the boulevard owners. Throughout the process, these individuals showed a willingness to compromise and stay true to fundamental business dollars and cents. After years of give and take, extensive public input and review, the blueprint for our downtown was finally adopted by the City Council in October of this year. We can all look forward to a new and improved Thousand Oaks Boulevard, appropriately scaled for this community. Let's take a moment to recognize both the past and present members of the TO Boulevard Specific Plan Committee who are involved once again in so many other civic endeavors, from the Boys and Girls Club to Mini Mansions, the Alliance for the Art. They too are servant leaders, which is the theme of today's address. Many are here today, and they deserve our thanks. Would all of you please stand? Now, one of the many issues that the TO Boulevard Specific Plan had to reconcile was parking, traffic, and cars, which leads me to another of this year's successful community policy decisions, the Thousand Oaks Auto Mall, and specifically the Auto Mall sign. Now, we've all read about communities where residents ignore major issues. Their lives are busy and public meeting rooms are often empty. Thankfully, that's not the case here in Thousand Oaks. I'm going to say that again. Thankfully, that's not the case here in Thousand Oaks. Our residents truly embrace their role in shaping the community. Over a 3-year span, residents participated in countless community meetings, 4 public hearings, and several study sessions, all to provide hundreds of hours of public input. They had a vision for this community, and they did their part to shape the outcome. Equally critical to the process were the auto mall dealers themselves. Their commitment to the process, incorporating staff, resident, and city council comments and feedback, was both laudable and it was smart. As most projects with a design realm element occur, subjective art is sometimes a difficult thing to deal with. But in the end, it was the process and the leadership that resulted in a quality outcome. To Susan Murata and the auto dealers, and all the residents who shared their voice, thank you for your efforts, thank you for your input. During both the TO Boulevard and the Auto Mall Specific Plan process, some may ask, and some did ask, why is the city putting so much time and effort into facilitating this process? This question offers a great segue into another critical measurement of the state of our city: money. When we discuss public finance, we hear terms like general fund revenues and sales tax. Let there be no doubt, in the area of fiscal management, the city of Thousand Oaks is one of the best managed cities in the nation. Let me make it very clear. The city continues to live within its means. The council continues to make the tough choices to make sure the budget remains balanced, with reoccurring revenues sufficient to cover reoccurring expenditures. Our fiscal health is sound because we've made the tough decisions at the right time, and we have said no to the kick-to-can process used by other cities in Sacramento and even our nation. I'd just like to take a moment and turn your attention to the graphics on the screen to provide some perspective on our city finances. In Thousand Oaks, as most of you know, residents pay 7.25% sales tax. It's important to remember that only a fraction of the sales tax dollars stays here locally. Nearly 70% goes to Sacramento for the state general fund. Another 7% goes to county, state public safety programs, and so on and so on. As you can see, only 10 cents of every dollar collected in state sales tax goes to the city of Thousand Oaks. And by the way, if you make a purchase outside our city, we collect nothing. An important reminder to shop locally. The second graphic I want to share with you this afternoon, we take a look at the cost of services per resident the city provides each day. Now, the lion's share goes towards police and infrastructure. At $1.59 per day, it still costs you less than a small Starbucks coffee to receive the city services that we all rely on. There are a few critical points that I want to highlight summarizing our financial status. Like many families, during these difficult economic times, the city has streamlined our operations and we have looked for efficiencies. Over the past several years, we have cut 84 positions. We have contracted out for our street sweeping services to save taxpayer dollars. And because of strong labor negotiations, we found a way to gain concessions with our outstanding public employees so they would not receive a pay raise in the third year of a contract already negotiated. We're working hard to reduce workers' compensation rates, and we have learned to do more with less. At the same time, even though resources are shrinking, we also need to invest in our local infrastructure. While we don't generally get the headlines or curry much political credit, our roads, our bridges, our sewer lines, and our traffic signals are truly the flesh and bone of a healthy community. In this year alone, we've resurfaced 29 miles of streets, landscaped 400 trees, cared for 4,500 street trees, secured over $11 million in federal funding for the Windy 101 overcrossing, and we're working very hard to compete for more federal dollars for the 101-23 interchange. That interchange, incidentally, is the busiest in the county. Now, infrastructure flesh and bones is just an analogy. When it comes to the real flesh and bones, and we are in need of care, we are extremely fortunate to have Los Robles Regional Medical Center right in our own backyard. Community health facilities are another measurement of the state of our city. Most of us have had firsthand experience at Los Robles Hospital, either as a patient or a visitor. Another accomplishment this year that has been in the planning stages for many years was the approval of needed hospital expansion. Public health is a key measurement for our state, and Los Robles Hospital plays a vital role. I'd like to take just a moment to rattle off just a few of the achievements of our local hospital. First, it's the only hospital in the state certified by LA and Ventura counties to be designated at a heart attack center for rapid heart attack response, which is important because if I was much later, I think Jackie Irvin was going to have a heart attack. It's the only hospital in Ventura County that has the coveted designation of the Los Angeles County Emergency Department approved for pediatrics, which means when our kids get hurt, we don't have to put them in a helicopter and fly them to Children's Hospital downtown. They can receive quality, state-of-the-art medical care right here in Thousand Oaks. It's the only level 2 trauma center in the East County. It's a primary accredited stroke center. And finally, if you have to go to the emergency room because of a new implemented policy, your wait time is generally just 15 minutes. These extraordinary achievements are the result of years of thoughtful planning and visionary leadership. Now, running a facility of this size not only requires strong executives, but also equally professional doctors, nurses, and we all know an army of volunteers. With us here today is Greg Engel, the CEO of Los Robles Hospital. Judy Williams, a volunteer, a past president of the volunteers and chosen Volunteer of the Year. Nurse Erica Rosa, she's the clinical manager of the trauma center. And finally, Dr. Maggie Kadamian, who is the head of the trauma center. From all of us to all of you, thank you for your leadership and your commitment to our health and vitality. Let's recognize the representatives of Los Robles Hospital. As we all know, good health and wellness not is only achieved through state-of-the-art health care, but also living a balanced, healthy lifestyle. And that lifestyle includes recreation and the arts. We have 29 parks in this community, over 15,000 acres of public open space, We have 75 miles of trails, and we deliver over 3,000 annual programs in the area of recreation. The value of the Park District adds to our community is truly impossible to overstate. Decades of planning and vision have resulted in a recreation and open space system that is the envy of cities across the nation. From Tex Ward at the very beginning to our present-day General Manager, Jim Friedel, and all the board of directors who have served. We are fortunate to have such visionary leaders, and we are fortunate to have such a great park system. Let's recognize those individuals. Outstanding recreational facilities is just one aspect of a healthy community. There must also be culture. Since opening our doors in 1994, the Civic Arts Plaza has entertained audience with thousands of first-rate performances. Over those 17 years, we developed a complex web of arts groups. Now, these are volunteers who understandably are passionate about the arts. Council undertook an inclusive process designed to develop a strategy that both acknowledged the individual and group participation and at the same time bring order and coordination to all our arts programs. This process included over 40 meetings with stakeholders spanning over 2 years, resulting in a final report with over 77 individual recommendations. Now, one of the key recommendations was the creation of a new Cultural Affairs Commission, which was impaneled by the City Council earlier this year. With recent capacity performances with the likes of Chris Isaac, Blue Man Group, and Bill Cosby, which I just took my mom to a month ago, we are setting the right course for success at the Civic Arts Plaza. An interesting side note, while Mr. Gillette and I were conducting the interviews of the Cultural Affairs Commission, I had a pleasure to meet one of the applicants. Her name is Melissa Berenstein. Now, after chatting with Melissa and reviewing her resume, I was struck, not by her interest in the arts, but rather her and her husband Jack have done so many good things to support important families in our community, specifically families of needy children. For 10 years, Melissa and Jack have quietly hosted monthly Mom and Dad's Night Out for parents of children with special needs. Once a month, every month, for the last 10 years, they have provided outlets for parents of special needs kids and serves as a conduit for information. Melissa and Jack are exactly the kind of unsung community heroes without titles or office that deserve our recognition. They saw a void, and they have worked over the past decade to fill it. If that's not servant leadership, I don't know what is. They're here with us today. Please join me in acknowledging Melissa and Jack Berenstein for their outstanding service to some very special families in our community. I also want to recognize the compassion and the care of our nonprofit groups and other supportive community organizations, our affordable housing partners, Mini Mansions, and the Area Housing Authority. Hospice of the Conejo, who support our terminally ill and their families, and Senior Concerns, who dedicate their service to our aging community. These are just a sampling of the broad and supportive web of providers that serve our residents day in and day out. All servant leaders, would you please stand, all of you from those organizations, and be recognized. As I mentioned earlier, public policy can and has sometimes been a very difficult task, especially when it deals with emotional and sometimes divisive issues. And I can tell you there could be no more divisive or emotional issue than mobile home park rent control. During the past year, the city, along with a group of remarkable residents, delegates, and cooperative park owners, engaged in a 4-month process that resulted in an agreement of a new mobile home park rent control ordinance. Now, many of the delegates were members of what Tom Brokaw termed our greatest generation. Here with us today, along with the representatives of the park owners, to tell their story. Let's take a moment to listen.
The City of Thousand Oaks had rent stabilization, which means rent control of mobile home parks for many, many years, going back to the late 70s, I believe is when it first started. And the ordinance that the city had allowed park owners only a certain percentage of CPI every year for an automatic increase. And that really worked for quite a number of years.
The rents increased every year, and there were times when they were pretty much nominal increases. However, there were opportunities for the park owners to increase rents considerably.
The mobile home park business in Thousand Oaks kind of reached a crisis in about 2005, 6, 7. One of the smaller mobile home parks decided to close. That had never happened before in the city. Our property owner looked down the road and realized that under the restrictive ordinance that Thousand Oaks had, we were eventually just going to go out of business or not be able to run Vallecito the way it should be run. A couple of the other park owners realized that their rents were way below what they should be and went into the city and applied for bigger rent increases.
And the city council was left with very few options because of what state law says. Under our ordinance, park owners have the right to come in and say, your rent control isn't giving me a reasonable profit. I think I'm entitled to more money. And that started really getting people concerned because the amount of money that the park owners were asking for was astronomical. They were coming in with very, very, very high rents.
I just about fainted. And I thought, this can't be. I can't pay this. I get $1,536 a month. I pay another $200 for supplemental insurance, and $1,300 would be what I have left. There's no way. And when I started seeing my neighbors and meeting my neighbors, I knew that they were in worse financial situation than I was. That this can't be, this can't happen. We have to do something.
And I'd like to call to order the Thousand Oaks City Council meeting for Tuesday.
One of the park owners approached Mayor Fox, who listened to what he had to say and brought it forward to the city council and said to the council, asking for authority to enter a mediation process that would bring park owners and residents together. And the council had the vision to see that that was maybe the perfect time to try to do this.
In February, Mayor Fox convened a meeting of all of the mobile home residents in the city of Thousand Oaks. They talked to us about the prospects of increased rents and this continual kind of thing. There had already been 2 cases where 2 different parks had applied for rent increases and they were granted. And once that ball started rolling and people began to realize this is real, rent increases are real. And if we keep this up, everybody is going to be miserable. And when the mayor called the meeting of all of the people in the city, all the mobile home residents, and he broached the idea of having a commission. He had already talked to the park owners, and now he was talking to us, suggested we form a delegation, somebody from each park, and let's get on with this and avoid lawsuits and heartbreak.
The key turning point in the whole process was the city set up this mediation and had it on a Saturday, starting at 8 in the morning. And we had no idea what to expect. Everybody had their opening position, and Mayor Fox, made a speech, and the city attorney kind of laid out the ground rules. And we went on for 2 or 3 hours, and one of the key issues was whether there would be a rent subsidy plan to help any needy resident who couldn't afford higher rent increases. And you know, that was something that we didn't know whether we could get all the owners to agree to. When we finally did, and I was able to say, we'll do it, the resident representatives kind of extended their hands across the table. And to me, it was like this huge iceberg was just cracked right in the middle and started melting. And then it was all details from there on out.
The process itself was, it was long, it was difficult, but each time the mayor went from one group to the next, there was an inch of progress. And so by the end of the day, people were ready to sit down and initial the agreements. And that was like, hooray.
So at the end of the mediation, what really happened was we had an agreement between park owners and residents. Both sides walked away happy because they each got what they felt was important to their side. They were able to talk, come to an agreement. They had, for the park tenants, residents, they had certainty for the next 10 years. Park owners felt that they were given a reasonable rate of return and that they could live with it for the next 10 years. And there really was, as I want to say, peace in the valley again. This was a true success story.
Now, I recognize that this issue may not directly affect many of you in the room here this afternoon, but let me just assure you, this is what local government is truly all about. Rolling up your sleeves, taking on a difficult, sometimes divisive issue, working with the community for a positive outcome. It's been mentioned that I'm in my 5th term here on the City Council, and I've been around the state and even the nation working with local governments. And I think I can say without any contradiction that this process that the delegates and the park owners and the city participated in is truly a first of its kind. Hopefully it'll be a role model for other cities to emulate with difficult issues as we move forward. We have the park delegates here, we have the mobile home park representatives here, we have some of the city staff who participated. I'd like all of them to stand and be recognized for their outstanding efforts. I have a rhetorical question for you this afternoon. What do university presidents, hospital CEOs, business entrepreneurs, city managers, coaches, even mobile home park owners all have in common? The answer is at one time in their lives, all of them were students at an elementary school, a middle school, and a high school. By the way, speaking of coaches and educators, we already touched on it earlier today, but fresh off a CIF championship and on their way hopefully to a state championship, we have the head football coach of Westlake High School, Jim Benkert. I don't know if Jim's still here, but practice starts at 20 minutes, and my son will be on the field, so it's good that he's there. Also with us here from Lorena High School is the principal of Lorena High School, Dr. Shannon Gomez. Lorena received a World Championship award for their debate team. Dr. Gomez, could you please stand and be recognized? We have great public and private schools, and they do a lot more for a community than just educate our youth. Good school districts are an invaluable economic generator. When companies come to look to live here and locate in Thousand Oaks, the quality of our schools, both public and private, are significant factors. With us here today is the superintendent of the Conejo Unified School District, Dr. Jeff Barstead. He oversees one of the finest school systems in the state. Let me just rattle off a few stats for you. Over a 95% graduation rate. Almost a quarter, 23% of the students attend top-tier universities. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton, and yes, of course, Notre Dame. 19% of those students receive scholarships to one university or another. Our local educators, their leaders, the school board, they do an outstanding job both in preparing our young people and providing leadership for our community and for the next generation. I'd like to recognize the school board members who are here, Dr. Jeff Barstead, all the educators that we have. Please show them a round of applause. Great job. One personal note here, it's impossible for me to talk about educating our youth without thinking about my dad, who passed away this past May. Dad was a school teacher and a track starter for almost 40 years. He was also a fixture at the greeting desk as you came into City Hall for well over a decade. I've been on the council 5 terms. This is my 5th State of the City address, but it's the first without both mom and dad in the audience. My mom is here with my wife, Letitia, and I can tell you this, it's safe to say whatever qualities I have brought to the office of council member or mayor, a lot of that comes from the love and support of my family. Thank you both, Mom and Letitia, for being here. Also want to acknowledge the members of our city executive team who completed their service to the city during this past year. City Attorney Amy Albano, who was instrumental in the mobile home park ordinance and so many other things within our community. Assistant City Manager Candace Hong, great number 2 to Scott Mitnick. Resources Director Connie Hickman, dealing with our employee issues, always a difficult task. And finally, Cultural Affairs Director Tom Mincy, who was there at the very beginning. Thousand Oaks is blessed with great employees and great executives. Let's show all of these professionals how much we appreciate their service. As I conclude my remarks this afternoon, I want to mention 5 people who care a lot about this community. Those are the members that serve on the City Council. All 5 members are in attendance here today, which I believe is a first for quite some time. Mayor Pro Tem Jackie Irwin, Council members Claudia Bill de la Pena, Tom Clancy, and Dennis Gillette. All 5 of these individuals exemplify the servant leaders that we have seen so many examples of today. Now, 2 of those individuals have really had challenges this past year. They have served this community for many, many years. One, a captain in the United States Navy, the other, a United States Marine. I'd like you to recognize in particular Tom Clancy and Dennis Gillette for their unwavering service to this community. As we look ahead, our emphasis should be on service above all else to our residents. Leadership is about people. It is not about projects. We are a premier city in large part because of the residents and all they do in service, volunteerism, contribution, and charity. We are a premier city because in Thousand Oaks, people care. It's been an honor to serve you as mayor during this 5th term. I'd like to extend my deepest appreciation to our residents who continue to elect me to help lead our community. May all of you have a happy, healthy, and safe holiday season, and may God bless the city of Thousand Oaks. Thank you very much.